Alright guys, it's here, 20.1, and just as it has been over the last few years, the first workout has been a pretty spicy one, pretty simple one, but it is a great test and it's going to be a good workout. I've gone through the workout personally this morning and it sucked. There was nothing really unexpected in there, a little bit of sort of lower back to sort of consider, but we'll go into that. But yeah, no real surprises here and not a lot of moving parts in this workout. So I'm just going to sort of go through this. These are my thoughts on the workout, having done it, as well as watching the announcement video, which I do highly recommend you watch. Just watching Froning and Panchek go through that and just sort of seeing their paces and how they're moving throughout. That very consistently was very impressive, and I think that's something that we can all try and work towards. So first off, movement considerations: power snatch, muscle snatch, power clean and jerk. You have to go with a variation which you can maintain consistency with, okay? I don't recommend actually going with the muscle snatch at all. I just believe that that's probably going to set your heart rate up a little bit too high and not allow you to sort of recover enough and make the burpees just a lot more of a struggle, okay? So whatever you plan on actually finishing your 10th round with, or however long you plan on going, okay? So wherever you're going to be at 15 minutes, or however you finish the workout essentially, just make sure that you're going with that variation, okay? I used the power snatch. I actually did a couple of power clean and jerks in the middle of the workout, and the cycle time was just too slow. I thought it was actually just going to take a little bit of pressure off my lower back, but it didn't at all. It just had exactly the same feeling. So I would recommend go with the power snatch. For the burpees, stepping up or jumping up. If you know how to step up a burpee and you have that coordination down, then I recommend that you do that and you just keep them slow. The biggest mistake a lot of people make when they go through burpees is they just try to move through it too fast, or they try to do too many things at once. They try to actually turn around and face the bar before they've even jumped over the bar, okay? And there's all of these different things that are going on within the burpee, and you've just got to break it down to something that's just going to be very rhythmic and just allow you to move consistently. If you watch Panchek, he was pushing himself up off the floor. He had almost a slight pause in that. And then from there, he would step up and then he would jump over the bar laterally, and he was always facing the same side. So say, for instance, I'm here and I'm stepping up with my right leg. I'm going to turn and jump facing the same side. And then on the other end, I'm going to step up with my left leg, and then I'm going to turn and jump on the other side. But if you do that, you've just got to make sure that you are jumping off with 2 feet. Quite often when people try this step up variation, they'll start to jump up with one leg before the other, and you've just got to make sure that you don't do that, because that's just going to be a simple no rep there, which is going to waste energy. Okay, so go with the variation that you can maintain. For me personally, on a couple of sets, I did 4 step-up burpees and then I did 4 with a jump up, just to control my pace. And that's usually something that I do. Okay, I'm a little bit more comfortable going through the jump up and the jump back style burpee, so I do that just to control my pace. And I was okay doing that and just switching between the two. Okay, but you have to have that sort of step up and that movement around the bar dialed in. The key is you always step up with a different leg, okay? But you always jump the same side, all right? So as you step up, that trailing leg is going to be the one that goes over the barbell first as you jump laterally, okay? Try that out, okay? If you don't understand what I'm talking about with that, then watch Panchek go through his. Try it out, watch over this video, and just try to imagine yourself going through it. You can practice this at home. It's very simple. And just don't allow your sort of first exposure to that to be as soon as you walk into the gym, okay? Just get a little bit of practice in and you should be fine there. Like I said, choose the variation you stick with throughout the whole workout. Those people who are a little bit more experienced, you can actually switch around with variations just based on fatigue, but you have to be technically proficient in all of those. Don't be trying something if you're not technically proficient in it, because you're not going to be able to keep that consistent for 10 rounds. For the less experienced athletes, those people who are not necessarily as comfortable with the sort of step-up variations or different barbell cycling variations, just go with one variation and stick with it, and just make sure that you find it easy enough that you can just keep it going regardless of your fatigue level, okay? And then, yep, use variations that maintain an aerobic feel. And what I mean by an aerobic feel is that you are able just to go through the workout and you're able to turn the dial up and turn the dial down in terms of your pace and feel okay with that. As soon as it becomes not aerobic and as soon as you start working into that real shitty zone, that's when you physically have to stop in a workout. So try to achieve the whole workout with you just being in control, where you can be like, okay, I can turn the pace up here, okay, I need to dial the pace back a little bit here, and you can go through that. And it's going to take a couple of rounds to sort of feel that and get into your groove, but you want to make sure that middle portion of the workout, you are firmly in the groove and you're just keeping it nice and consistent there, okay? Pacing, one consistent pace. Break the barbell before you feel like you need to. So you don't want to work on the barbell to the point where you have to break. And what I mean by that is that you do one rep, it feels really labored, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this is really hard, and you have to drop the barbell. Don't get to that position. Get to the position where you feel like, okay, this is getting a little bit tough, my back is getting a bit tight. Okay, I'm gonna drop the barbell now, and then I can get back into it. Break it up as a 5 and a 3 or a 4 and a 4, or you could go for 4-2-2, something along those lines. But just try to make sure that you're not getting to the point where you're doing single reps. Obviously, if your strength level means that you are going to be doing single reps with this, then by all means go through that and perform with single reps. Consideration with that, if you do that, make sure you don't have bouncy plates, okay? So just make sure you have, for instance, competition plates, or you're using a surface where the bar isn't going to be bouncing around too much, okay? But yeah, break the barbell before you need to, and on the burpees, you should not stop. If you actually physically have to stop mid-set in the burpees, you're going too fast, and you're using a variation which could be actually just causing you to work into a bit of a hole which you don't necessarily want to be in at all, okay? Fatigue. This is general fatigue, okay? So what I mean by general fatigue is your heart rate is up, your breathing rate is up, and you just generally, the whole body is starting to feel tired, okay? This is that sort of first workout of the open feel that we've had over the last several years, so you should understand how that's going to be. We don't necessarily have anything which is going to be, whereby you're having to break up movements because of grip fatigue or anything like that. The one thing I would say is that if you have a tendency to have your lower back blow up through sort of like a high rep hinging and also pushing yourself into extension, then just be aware of that, okay? So there's a couple of things, if that is you, and that was me today, that you can do, I think, to make that a little bit better. First one is tight midline on your burpee. So as you go through the burpee, if you watch Rich Froning go through his burpees, he sort of pushed himself off the floor and he stayed fairly rigid throughout the whole movement, and he was able to hop up onto his feet and be okay and then jump into the next rep. If you watch Panchak go through his, he sort of wormed up, okay? So he pushed his body up off the floor, and this is what I was doing, which was a bit of a mistake. And then he was holding that position, so he was in this really extended position through the lower back, and then he was stepping up and moving his feet up for the burpee. What we want to do, okay, if you're likely to blow up or if you're likely to get that lower back pump feel, is stay tight through the midline. As soon as you start to push off the floor, you are trying to get your whole body off of the floor, okay? So you're actively stepping up or you're actively jumping up, and you're just really trying to avoid this position, okay? Because if you imagine you're going through this for 100 reps and then you're going through this for 80 reps, going through that flexion extension, it has a very, very similar feel to, say, like deadlifts and handstand push-ups, or deadlifts and handstand walks and movements like that. And CrossFit like to do that, okay? They like to throw in these combinations which are really going to challenge your midline stability, okay? So that's a consideration for the burpee. Make sure you stay nice and rigid through your midline as you push off the floor. And then when you're going through the barbell work, okay, my little prop here, as you're bringing the barbell down, you want to brush the hip. So as you brush the hip, you're just keeping the bar close. If you start to go from this position straight down to the floor, okay, you're gonna more likely get pulled out of position. So you're probably gonna go into a hinged position which looks like this, and then that ultimately is gonna result in you just getting that pump by the end of the workout. If you have a strong enough back where you can maintain that, that's okay, but just think that this workout is very, very high volume and it will catch up to you. So as you bring the barbell down through your power snatches, either bring it to the hip and pause, set yourself, bring yourself down into the best position possible, okay? So you're using your legs, or as you lower the barbell down, brush the hips so you keep it close and it's just grazing down past the legs as it touches the floor, okay? Now, if your strength level is higher and you're able to just rep it out, it could be a little bit better for you just to sort of go through 4 reps, break it, before you get to that point where it becomes really fatiguing. However, with low back fatigue, this becomes very, very metabolic after a while, okay? Think about the workouts, you know, where you've got running and hinging involved, okay? Helen is a perfect example. You get very metabolic through this because you're using a large amount of your body to produce force through this, okay? So just be aware of that. Moving on to repeat considerations. If you are repeating this workout and you are going to be finishing the workout on both attempts, there's 160 grams of overhead and it is going to be 200 burpees, okay? Like I said, if you're going through this and then this all together around about 360 times over the course of a couple of days, that is something you potentially are not going to be used to in training, okay? You have to be aware of that. You just have to make sure that you're taking care of your hips over the weekend. You're not going to be on your feet for too long or slouching down and all of those types of things. So just be aware of little things like that. But as well as that, make sure your first attempt, you're not going to be just going into this shitty position as you're cycling the rep, okay? So if you do want to repeat this and maximize your performance, you're better off, in my opinion, going through the first one with as efficient barbell movement as possible. And if you feel good, then on the second one, that's where you can start to get a little bit loose in terms of technique to make sure that you get the best result possible, okay? But yeah, just try to make sure that you go out on your first attempt and you're hitting that with as good movement as you can. And then on your second attempt, you're action planning to make sure that you can get yourself a little bit less time or more reps or whatever your goal is, okay? Warm up. I will send out a warm up and I'll be putting all of this up into a written format so you guys can look over it. But for the warm up, you need to get the engine running. You need to be about 10 to 20 minutes of aerobic work before you do anything, okay? So bike, jogging, nothing too fast, okay? Today I went through bike and row, and I was rowing at like a 2:15 pace, and I was on the bike around about 50 RPM, and I was just going a minute of each for about 10 minutes, okay? And I was just looking just to get a bit of a sweat on and get a bit of a feel, get my breathing going, get the lungs going, okay? So you've got to get the engine running. Then take care of your lower back and your hips. Go through some movements like hip cars, okay? Really open up your hamstrings, your glutes, focus on that posterior chain, and also focus up through here as well, okay? I would recommend going through some movements like downward dog, and then also just trying to sort of replicate some of those extension patterns that you're going to get in the burpee, okay? And then you need to work through getting your heart rate up. So for that, get onto the rowing machine, get onto the bike, something along the lines of like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, get the heart rate up. This is something you should all be familiar with, and this is about you guys getting your energy systems prepped for the workout so you get that little bit of a shitty feel that's going to be going in, okay? Following that, dial in your burpees. Your power snatch or your barbell movement, you should know which variation you're going to go with. That should be fairly quick. You don't want to be spending too much time on that or fatiguing yourself too much with that, because that's essentially just going to just cause, you know, extra reps and potentially create a little bit more fatigue in your lower back than you want to at the start of the workout. So get the burpees dialed in. There's no need to be building up to, you know, a snatch that's going to be 20 kilos heavier just to get the nervous system firing. That isn't this type of workout. This workout is about you guys staying relaxed, staying loose, being able to just move from, you know, movement to movement and just feel a good rhythm throughout. It's not about being explosive or powerful. Obviously, we want to move well, but we also want to stay nice and relaxed through that as well, okay? And then finally, go through some partial rounds just to practice, okay? Something like a 5-round scenario with about 30 to 60 seconds rest between each round, and you could go through half rounds, okay? So you should be looking at 4 and 5 reps, and you're looking to build the pace up. So round number 1, you're just moving between exercises, a very, very pedestrian pace. And then round number 5, you actually want to be moving a little bit quicker than you will be in the workout, just so that you get that intensity and you feel like, okay, this is the pace that I'm not going to be going into. However, I want to get that heart rate up and I want to make sure I get in a little bit of intensity before the workout, okay? I hope that helps you guys. This is my first thoughts on the workout. I will be communicating with you over the weekend, okay, if there is anything else that comes up. As people start sending in their results, their feedback and their videos and things like that, I'll be able to sort of pick up on a little bit more information, and I'll share that with you guys as soon as I can, okay? I hope this helps. Make sure that if you are going through your first attempt today, you are spending a lot of time getting that engine running and getting your lower back and your hips loosened off. If you sat down at work for the majority of the day, try and get yourself stood up at some various points, and then just make sure you're getting some movement in during the day as well, okay? Good luck, and let me know how you guys get on.